there are a lot of intelligent, successful business people who will provide their input to give us a direction here. So I think collaborating with them is really important. Non-for-profit, they have a lot of knowledge in dealing with some of our social issues. Bringing them to the table would make them feel heard, and it will also provide a sense of direction, and they will feel like they're part of it in shaping the fabric and the direction for this community.
This episode of Bring Back the Porch brought to you by Bernie Leahy, River Street Realty. Let's get you home. And joining us this day on the porch is Yusuf Mohammed, who is a new face to the race for City Council in Medicine Hat. Welcome, Yusuf.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Why did you decide to seek a seat on Medicine Hat City Council?
Yeah, I've been around for 20 years, and I've had my hands in so many things, from community development to economic development. I'm a soccer coach. Three of my boys play soccer, and so I've been around and listened to some of the challenges that our community is facing, but also seen some of the opportunities that we can move forward. So when the last few years, people have been saying, "Hey, you need to take a look at council," because I've been on a few boards too in the community, including Medicine Hat College Board, who I've been there for 6 years. I had to take a leave of absence to do this. Mm-hmm. So people kept on saying, you make a good leader, you understand governance, you've also done a lot of community building, you understand economic development, especially when it comes to workforce. Why didn't you put your name in a hat and see if you can contribute to this city? So I thought about it. Hey, a wise man once shared with me, he said, when you serve people, they will make you a leader. And I took that as a compliment with the amount of leaders that are saying, you'd be a good candidate to put my name in the poll.
So did they have to drag you kicking and screaming like they do with the Speaker of the House of Parliament?
No, I don't think so. I think it's the encouragement. And I think each and every one of us feel good when people approach you and say, hey, you'll be good at this, or you've delivered value in these areas, and we would like to see your name out there. So it is encouraging. It makes you feel like, you're not just trying to do something on your own. And this kind of role is important too, when people see value in your leadership and say, we want you to serve our community.
You say you've been here for 20 years.
Yes, sir.
Give us a little bit about your life experience.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in northern Nigeria. And I also had the opportunity to travel and go to school. I've lived in, a few continents. I've been to 4 continents, but I've lived in South Africa for a while. I lived in Europe, particularly Switzerland, for about 5 years. And that's where I met my beautiful wife. And she wanted to come back to go to school in Canada. So we ended up moving to Canada. So when we moved to Canada, my background here has been I worked in construction for a year, and I did operations management for about 5 years, and then I worked in human resources for about 8 years, and then the last 4 years I started a consultant firm, helping organizations with operations management, talent recruitment, workforce development, branding. So that's kind of my history here in Medicine Hat.
What drew you to Medicine Hat?
Absolutely meeting a Canadian girl.
She was from?
No, not from Medicine Hat. She lived most of her life in Edmonton. Mm-hmm. But when we met in Europe, right? When we were looking at moving to Canada, she wanted to go to nursing school. And I found a job at that time here in Medicine Hat. And when we were looking at where she could go to school, we found that Medicine Hat College at that time had a program that she liked better than U of A. So Medicine Hat, definitely the opportunity to work here for me and the opportunity for my wife to pursue her dreams. So it was a win-win.
So you have experience as someone who's looked at Medicine Hat as a place to come and set up a family.
Yeah.
Has that helped you in this seeking a seat on City Council?
Yes. And from an outside perspective, I had the opportunity, like you said, to look at it from outside and how can someone, make their roots here and stay here, and I had the opportunity to be able to do that. And I would say it worked out really well for us. I always tell people, as a newcomer, I have a very strong positive perspective to this community, and based on the choices I've met and the people that I've met.
On your website, you have listed several pillars of your campaign. I
Yes.
tried to have it on my phone here, but it went dark on me, so I'm going to have to ask you to sort of, I think the first one was trust.
Yes, building trust and confidentiality in the community, in leadership, in municipal government, but also together with our community. It's really important for me. I had that in there because when I looked at the community, I see a bunch of people who want to come and connect in the different sectors that I've been a part of, non-for-profit, business sector. And I think that if we focus in as municipal leaders and take a look at bringing people together, we would earn their trust. If we go to the business community and say, hey, we want to, advance the economy, we want to, promote economic development in the region, what do you think? There are a lot of intelligent, successful business people who will provide their input to give us a direction here. So I think collaborating with them is really important. Non-for-profit, they have a lot of knowledge in dealing with some of our social issues. Bringing them to the table will make them feel heard, and it will also provide a sense of direction, and they will feel like they're part of it and shaping the fabric and the direction for this community.
You mentioned the social issues in Medicine Hat, and every morning when I drive down First Street, you see the people who are encamped in the park there. We've talked to some of the other candidates too, and there are no easy solutions.
Yeah.
But you may be working with those people. You have a better idea of what the needs of those people are that are out on the street.
I have some idea. I always, I think that I have a partial solution to the problem, and then others have that, So that's why you need a council of 8, but you also need a community that comes together. I mean, there are different challenges or pathways that people follow to end up on the street, whether it's mental health, whether it's addiction, whether it's, economic challenge. There's so many pathways, and that's why I believe in that, bringing community together to help resolve the challenges that we have, and not one person is going to have that solution. And so the other thing that I really believe strongly in is a very strong outreach network. I do have some experience in working with people on the street around the world in multiple countries. And as a matter of fact, some of the best solutions that I've seen is meeting people where they're at, treating them with dignity. Mm-hmm. A solution that we once explored, when I lived in Nigeria as a young person, I volunteered with a street. You would call them a street kids organization that helps rescue kids out of the street because of a different reason. We have an outreach that feeds them. We have an outreach that clothes them. We have an outreach that goes and talks to them to give them that dignity, meet them right where they are. And then we have a location where they can come if they need support. We have medical clinics that take care of them if they're hurt. And they know those supports that help them. So first they come there. And then when we get to know them, we had a transition house. A transition house is where they go, okay, hey, I want to grow a little bit. I want to learn a little bit. I want to get out of my situation. They learn trades there. They are able to go to school. And slowly, I can gladly tell you that I can point out 20 to 30 kids that I've worked with directly today that are physiotherapists, electricians, welders, lawyers, and that were taken out of the street. So there are great models out there. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. If we look around Canada, there's some great models. I know some good friends that are doing some good work out of the Calgary area and other places around the country.
We have seen a great debate in our community about the mustard seed and where it should be located. It was not welcomed by the neighbors down in the River Flats area for different reasons. There was a thought that they might move it up to the old youth hostel, the labor hall up on northwest part of the city, but I guess the mustard seed is withdrawn that now, so we're kind of back again looking for a place to have a home, or at least a place where these people can find the services they need and keep running into the same old problem. Yeah. Not in my backyard.
Yeah.
I'd like to help them, but not in my backyard. How do we get over that?
It's a complex issue, and if anything is going to come in your backyard, you want to know what it is. You don't want to be surprised, right? And I totally understand that. One of the things that I'm really advocating for, whether it's dealing with homelessness or other issues that we have in our community, is to have a robust consultation. You know what I mean? You can't, we have to have that conversation with the neighborhood. Anything that we're doing, whether it's construction, you name it, we need to talk to the users in that area. It's surprising anyone doesn't help. So when it comes to the issue of homelessness, I mean, again, we can't resolve it in this podcast, but we can talk about it a little bit. I think there's an opportunity to, if we're looking at the site where we're going to put, you know, the homeless population or some kind of program, there's an opportunity to talk to that community. The other thing is let them know exactly what the services are going to be, who's going to be supporting that. So people are willing sometimes to adjust and make compromises if they're fully informed on what's happening in their backyard. So there's something to be said about a consultation framework that we need to look at. And when we're trying to deal with, you know, certain social issues or technical issues or development issues, to have that kind of consultation. And I've heard of some good initiatives that the city's already doing. So there's some good work out there, and I'm looking forward to see how we can amplify that. We're humans, we make mistakes, and the people that, you know, develop some of those strategies and plan, they also have good intention for our community.
What kind of a message have you been getting back from the people you've been meeting on the campaign trail in terms of when you go and knock on their door or you meet them in meet and greets?
People want to be heard. They're surprised. So it's either we're not getting information out the way we need to, but that gives an opportunity for learning. Definitely cost of living is tough for certain people. We've heard challenges about, red tape reduction, people in the industry, especially the construction industry. People are talking about it. I was outdoor knocking yesterday. I heard about it and I go, okay, we got to figure out a way to be on the same team. Because we talk about economic development, we talk about all those things. How do we become on the same team with people that are working within our community, in the municipality or outside? And so let's figure out how to move medicinehat forward. So there needs to be some conversations that we need to have on the table to be able to cast a vision that everybody aligns with. And that vision is, to move medicinehat forward together, to build it together with everyone.
The municipally controlled corporation has been one of the things that a lot of people have been talking about here because 120 years of medicinehat owning its own utilities.
Yes.
120 years it's been able to be guided by the people at City Hall.
Yes.
And now there's a thought maybe we need to sort of move part of that responsibility off of the plate of a city council. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that?
I have a few ideas. Let me start by saying, first of all, if somebody has run something for over 100 years, we have to figure out how to change it. We can't do it overnight. It doesn't work anywhere, not just with this particular issue, right? We have to figure out sensitive ways to be able to communicate and be able to see and get everybody on board to be able to do that. I see the expertise that is being sought after when you're looking at municipal control corporations. I see the expertise that has to do with, people managing the business side really well, making sure that certain patents are protected. So I understand that whole idea of doing it. But for medicinehat, this is a family business. You know what I mean? And so if we're gonna bring in somebody to help us manage the family business, if I can call it that way, I mean, the family wants to know that they're not going to be screwed. Forgive my language. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we have to figure out how to do it. I mean, in business or organizational management, we call it change management tactic. We got to look at certain ways to do it. So I believe that's been looked after. We have to reevaluate and see how we move forward. So if my opinion on that is that I think the timing may not be now. I think if we're going to do it, we need to communicate with people and help them see the value and then put some guardrails to make sure that the family understands that when this business goes over to someone, it's going to come back to the community and benefit the public. There are concerns that, a business only looks at bottom line and can really forget to take care of those that it's serving. So we need to address those fears and those concerns. So I'm very supportive that at this point it didn't move forward, but I'm not opposed to revisiting it and making sure that we communicate to this family that we're not trying to take this away from you, that and highlight the importance of why we're getting, some expertise to be able to run our energy business, and the family has to buy in. So I'm a big believer that if you talk to people about what they care about what they own, and if they don't want to change trajectory, if they don't, there's nothing you can do about it. It's public service. That's why we have a voting system.
You mentioned the bottom line and public service, and that led me to think about the city transit.
Yes.
That is an area that you hear a lot of people, well, there's a big bus and there's nobody on it. Why are we paying for that? But it is a service that many people rely on.
Yeah.
So what do we do to make it, I guess, work better for the users and for the people who are paying the taxes to supply the service?
Okay. I have one aspect that I think the transit could support our community is in the area of economic growth. And if we look at expanding our community, or we look at traffic areas, and I'm sure that has been thought through, but I just probably haven't had the time to take a look at it in detail. Transit usually takes people from one location to other where they care about. So, for example, if let's say you have 5 corporations within the region that have 300 to 500 staff, it's really important that we get them to work early. And the transit may not benefit directly or pay for itself, but the fact that we have citizens that are using it and they're getting to work early and they're able to support industry and economic growth, I think that's a win. And that's what we look at as economic development. The city is taking care of our businesses by getting their employees on time to work and having it run efficiency. So we might not win on the transit or making money out of it, but we're going to win by making sure that people are being served. The public is being served. So we have to look at all of those things to make sure that we're aligned, whether in economic development or economic growth, and serving our population based on providing those services.
So it may not show up on the bottom line in the transit department as a plus or a minus, but there are other benefits of having a well-run transit department.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
You talk about leadership. How have you become a leader?
Through really serving in diverse sectors. That has taught me. And in that, I've found incredible mentors. Mentors that know what they're doing. Sometimes I've learned what to do and sometimes what not to do. So I think being teachable and really being curious and open-mindedness and respect has actually helped me to become a leader. And that's what happens when you get to work with a variety of people. Regardless of where their values are, there's something that you can learn from them.
Okay, you're a product of your environment.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Samus Solar Project is another big money ticket that people have been talking about. Some say it's a boondoggle. Some say it's an investment in our future. What about Yusuf Mohammed?
I'm definitely in supportive of exploring renewable energy because source of energy is changing. And we've learned from many countries, regions that have their own oil that they've ended up in the ditch if they didn't explore new ways to do things. There are different ways to go about it. Like I said earlier, you can't change things on people overnight. These things take time. People are used to a certain behavior. So we need to look at the public and walk together with them. When it comes to, the Samus Solar Project, timing is really important. And also looking at, I have to say, we have to evaluate the cost of all those things. If we're going to embark on something that's going to cost us 600 million, 700 million, that's a big check.
That's a big number.
That's a big number. So we have to take it cautiously. We have to communicate to people that there's going to be a return on that investment. We got to look at retiring some of those assets and dealing with them and making sure that it's going to be beneficial for the community. I understand those things have about 25 to 30 years lifespan. So is that money going to come out of that? What's the cost of replacing that? How sustainable is that? All of those things. So, and also look at the climate and the region in which we live in. Solar works really well in other parts of the world. I am not sure how it works well here. So I can't tell you that I'm quite knowledgeable about that, but I've seen where it worked, but I've seen it being a challenge in here. There's a Hat Smart incentive, I think, that we had where people can do. So again, evaluating how well has that gone, with getting people to come on board. And so there's probably some municipalities that have been successful or have failed. So I would like to benchmark some of our initiative with that.
Property taxes and utility rates, another part of the affordability issue in our city, balancing the books versus supplying things that people need. How would you compromise in that area?
I think there are different ways. I'm an advocate for fair tax rate setting. Okay, and part of it is because we kind of do own our own energy business. So I've been vocal about, okay, if we're gonna hike the tax rate, we should take a look at our economy in the community. Are we doing well? And I don't. There's got to be a way that we can evaluate that. But I think when we look at initiatives to bring community together, a robust feedback, we would have an idea of the community pulse, where people are doing economically. If there's a huge economic growth within the region and we're becoming prosperous, taxes work really well. I mean, because they provide great services in our community, they help with retention and all of that. So talking to community, talking to experts within our community, and having the right experts looking at that, we can increase tax. We can give people a tax relief based on how we're doing economically. There's no sense of hiking your tax and bankrupting you out of your business. So we need to evaluate some of those things. If people say they're hurting, 95.5% of businesses in our community are small businesses. If we increase tax and run 20, 30 of them out of business, we should be able to have some kind of matrix that kind of go, okay, this is where people are at, and we will do ourselves a disservice by running people out of business just because we're putting pressures on them. So I am all about being fair on how we do that.
When we talk about economic development, we have heard from some of the candidates and some of the people in the forums saying that it's all fine to try to attract new industry to medicinehat, but maybe we should pay more attention to the ones that are already here, the ones that are trying to make a living here, the ones that are paying the taxes.
Yes.
How do we make sure that we retain and treat those businesses well?
So absolutely. We're in a region that we can look at some of our competitive advantages, right? I think recently economic development has outlined a few areas that we can focus on: agriculture, defense. I went blank on the other one. But, we can look at those industries and look at our small businesses and provide the opportunity for people to upscale. There might be 4 or 5 industries that is a competitive advantage for our region. Let's highlight those. But many big corporations or big businesses rely on subcontractors to be able to move on, to grow their companies. So I think if we have good connection with our industries, we're able to communicate that data. We're able to communicate the opportunity for them to upscale and take their businesses to the next level. So I agree. We should look at that. But a good communication helps that, to be able to support those that are already existing in our community. And hey, if we can also attract investment with the gaps, we need to do a good job in communicating the gaps that we have, because that's when investors looking and go, oh, wow, you have these groups together, you have, these corporations together. Well, there's an opportunity to enter this market. And so we can attract new money by doing that. But let's look within, I agree, and upskill and support those that are already within.
One of the big ticket items that people have been talking about is a new Southside Recreation Center, a new outdoor pool. Would you support something like that?
Fair development of neighborhoods, absolutely. Now, we have to look at the numbers. We can't just go off that.
A check.
Yeah, we write a check because we need a pool here, but I agree. I have young kids, and I'm connected with families with lots of children. I live in the South Side. I go to leisure centers sometimes 3 or 4 times. Love that place. But sometimes I have to tell my kids, no, we can't go there. I was just there 2 times today. But what if they could walk? Right? So there's so many benefits to that. youth mental health, community engagement, retention. There's so many people that move out of Medicine Hat, especially the young generation. When they grow up with, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that, no, you, very soon they start looking at other communities, right? So there's so many benefits to that. So we need to look at definitely our neighborhoods and see how we can develop them fairly.
We touched on the one pillar that I was able to remember before my phone went dark on trust. What are the other pillars that you're building your campaign on?
I think we've kind of talked about them. So we talked about building a fair, resilient economy. We talked about, safeguarding our resources, which has to do with our taxes that we talked about. We talked about building vibrant communities, and then developing neighborhoods fairly. So we kind of talked about them. So those are the 5.
Okay.
We touch on them, and I'm really passionate about that because, like I said, the last 20 years, I spent my time working with these different groups. At one point, I was the chair of social development, Medicine Hat. It's changed to Vibrancy. So that gave me the opportunity to hear some major issues in our community. So I've kind of wrapped my head around some of those things and seen some of the challenges and also the opportunities that we have in our community.
Opportunity comes at the ballot box on the 20th of October. I have 8 pieces of currency to spend. Why should I spend one of my votes on Yusuf Mohammed?
Well, I think I have cross-sectoral experience in this community, but also outside this community. I've sat on certain provincial boards, so I understand, where there are gaps in our community, how to negotiate with our province. I've done some federal work as well. So I think that I bring something to the table that's quite unique. Global experience is there at the table. Our community is growing diverse. So I have some ideas on how we can build a community that is, including everyone economically, socially. So I think, and I love this community. My kids are born here. We're going nowhere. And I want to be part of shaping its future. So I hope the community can trust me and take a look at my platforms and see some of the work that I've done, or even connect with me and see what my ideas could be.
Just reading your button there, the bottom line says building together.
Yes, sir.
And I think that sums it all up.
Yeah, thank you.
Yusuf Mohammed, candidate for Medicine Hat City Council on October 20th. Thank you for the visit.
Thank you so much.